Heart pounding, body trembling, Ayla stumbled into Mint Taesu's penthouse. One drunken mistake, one heartbreak-fueled confession, and suddenly she was in his world, dangerously close, daring him to notice. He caught her wrist, cool, controlled, unmoved. She pressed closer, lips seeking his, heat flaring, desperation sharp in her chest. She wanted him, all of him, and she didn't care who saw. He didn't pull away at first. Not entirely, just enough to make her ache, to make her crave. His eyes burned into hers, dark, unreadable, dangerous. Morning came. The cold light of reality didn't soften him. It sharpened him. He wanted her. Every inch, every gasp, every stolen breath. No hesitation, no compromise, and she knew he wouldn't stop until she was his. Welcome to AfroKorean storyline, where dark romance meets suspense, passion, and drama. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe if you love stories that grip your heart from the first second. The rain sliced across the streets like jagged silver blades. Ayla Akoro pressed her forehead to the taxi window, watching neon signs blur into streaks of pink, blue, and green. The soju in her veins made the city spin, and the memory of Ethan's laughter, the man who had just left her, burned through her chest. 5 years. 5 years of love, shared secrets, laughter, and 1 week later he was engaged. Engaged. To someone who wasn't her. "You're pathetic," his voice had snapped in her head. "You thought someone like Jin-Ho Park, someone successful, untouchable, would ever notice you. You're delusional." Ayla's fingers pressed into the leather seat as the taxi turned sharply. "Miss, we're here," the driver said softly, his voice cutting through the haze. Her stomach plummeted. This wasn't her apartment building. This was Jin-Ho Park's penthouse, a place she'd only been twice to deliver late-night documents. Twice to hand him folders while her hands shook and her heart raced, hopping against hope he'd ask her to stay. I gave you the wrong address," she murmured. But even as she spoke, her hand was on the door handle. The soju had made her reckless, bold, tempted fate. The elevator ride felt unreal. Mirrors reflected her mascara-streaked cheeks, damp hair plastered to her forehead, and the bruise forming along her left cheek from Ethan's rough grip. A week, and already he had left marks, both physical and emotional. When the elevator chimed open, Ayla was swallowed by luxury. Black marble floors, minimalist furniture, and floor-to-ceiling windows framing the Han River. And in the middle of it all stood Jin-Ho Park. His white shirt was untucked at the collar, sleeves rolled up, a glass of amber liquid in his hand. His dark eyes, sharp and unreadable, tracked her like a predator assessing prey. "Ayla," he said softly, low and deliberate. She stepped inside. The doors slid shut behind her, sealing her fate. "What happened to you?" His voice had the calm precision of a man who controlled everything. But today, something else flickered behind his gaze. Concern. Or was it something darker? I did this," she whispered. "I wanted to see you, to tell you," her voice cracked. "I wanted you." Silence. "You're drunk," he said, but the edge in his tone suggested that he might have wanted her to be. "I'm drunk enough to tell you the truth," she said, stepping closer, her heels clicking on marble. "Do you know how long I've wanted you, Jin-Ho? How I spend mornings hopping you'll notice me. The way I dress, the perfume I wear, it's all for you, and you act like I don't exist." He set his glass down with a sharp clink, still unreadable. "You should go home." Her laugh was bitter. "My ex was right, I deserve nothing. Not him, not you, not." "What did you say?" His sudden focus made her shiver. He stepped closer, the scent of his cologne overpowering the alcohol haze in her brain. "He said I deserve no one," she whispered. "After 3 years, 1 week after we broke up, he's engaged to someone else." "Did he hurt you?" His calm voice carried an edge that made her pulse spike. Her words faltered. She wanted to lie, but something in his eyes stopped her. He always saw. "I told him I was dating my boss. You, and he laughed at me, called me pathetic, called me delusional. When I tried to leave, he grabbed me." Jin-Ho's hands curled at his sides, knuckles pale under the skin. "Give me his name." "No." "You will." His voice was low, precise, almost hypnotic. I came here because I'm tired of wanting you from a distance, she said, stepping closer again. I can't hide it anymore. I caw. Her lips found his. For a moment, the world stopped. She tasted whiskey and rain and desire. His body tensed, his breath caught, but then he stepped back, breaking the contact. You're drunk. I don't care. And then the disaster happened. Her drunken balance betrayed her. She tripped over the edge of the marble console, sending a tray of glasses crashing to the floor. The sound shattered the silence. Glass shattered, liquid spilled, and her stomach rebelled. She had made a mess. A humiliating, unforgettable mess. Jin-Ho caught her before she fell, his arms steady, unwavering, and muttered something in Korean she didn't understand, his voice low and commanding. When she woke the next morning, sunlight spilled across his penthouse, and she was wearing a shirt, his shirt. Her dress, ruined from the previous night, was neatly folded across a chair, and a glass of water with 2 painkillers sat beside the bed. A note, precise and unreadable. Drink these, take your time, leave when you're ready. No mention of the previous night, no scolding, no teasing. Her heart thudded painfully. She'd ruined everything. But that morning, as she dressed in her own clothes, she felt something strange. The lingering scent of his cologne on the shirt, the ghost of his touch, and the realization that she didn't want to leave. Batch 2. The elevator ride to the 20th floor felt longer than any journey Ayla had ever taken. Each polished step, each mirrored reflection reminded her of the chaos she'd left behind in Jin-Ho's penthouse. The spill, the confession, the way he'd looked at her when she'd stumbled. Her new desk was directly outside his office, a glass barrier separating her from the man who now haunted her every thought. From here, she could see him clearly. Tall, composed, utterly unreadable, yet commanding the air around him like it belonged to him alone. She tried to focus on her work. First task, organize the Henderson file. Second, summarize the quarterly projections. But the moment Jin-Ho's dark eyes flicked toward her, she forgot her own name. Ayla, I need the Henderson summary on my desk in 30 minutes. His voice came, low and calm, yet carrying a subtle charge that made her chest tighten. Yes, Jin-Ho, she said, her voice steady though her stomach twisted. As she moved toward her new responsibilities, she noticed the smallest things, the way he walked, the almost imperceptible tilt of his head when he watched her, the faint scent of his cologne drifting through the open door. Every glance, every gesture, left her heart in her throat. Her first meeting with him alone was unbearable. He didn't shout or snap, but the air between them was taut, like a wire stretched too tight. Did you finish the Henderson summary? His voice was smooth, controlled, but she could feel the edge behind it. Yes, sir, she said, placing the papers carefully on his desk. Her fingers brushed his as she handed them over, and heat shot through her body. He didn't flinch, he didn't step back. He simply regarded her with that unreadable gaze. You've improved your timing, he said, almost conversationally. I might start expecting more from you. Ayla's cheeks flushed, but she nodded, keeping her voice even. I'll make sure it's done. Good. He returned to his tablet, tapping the screen with precision. The Kim Industries file next. Summarize and prepare talking points for my meeting at 2. Her legs felt like lead as she left his office, but the sensation wasn't entirely unpleasant. There was a dangerous allure to the way he commanded the room without raising his voice. She hated that she found it intoxicating. Over the next few days, Ayla settled into her new position, her workspace mere feet from the man she'd confessed to, the man who now had power over her daily life. Every interaction was a subtle push-pull. He would give instructions, sometimes unnecessarily close, his voice dipping into intimate tones when no one else could hear. Mistakes are costly, he said one afternoon, brushing past her shoulder as he examined a file. But I'll tolerate them if I see effort. Ayla's pulse quickened at the near touch. She wanted to step back, but a part of her wanted to lean in, to feel that intensity up close. Then came the afternoon that shook her equilibrium entirely. She had been sorting files when she heard raised voices from the private bathroom attached to Jin-Ho's office. Curious, She peeked through the slightly ajar door and froze. Inside, a man in an expensive suit had been yelling, gesturing wildly. Jin-Ho's calm, measured voice cut through the chaos, but she saw the glint of something dangerous in his eyes. In seconds, the confrontation ended. The man stumbled out, his expression terror-stricken, and the office returned to pristine calm. Ayla's heart raced. Her hands shook. What had she just seen? Jin-Ho emerged a moment later, his shirt untouched, his composure perfect. "Ayla," he said softly, "are you all right?" I saw something," she whispered. "Was he?" "Handled," he interrupted smoothly. "Some things are better left unseen." His dark gaze held hers, sharp and possessive. "It's important you understand working for me means seeing things. Things you might not like, things that might scare you, but you stay. That's the choice." Her pulse fluttered wildly. She wanted to argue, to say she didn't belong in this dangerous orbit, but another part of her, deeper and unspoken, thrilled at the possession in his tone. In the following weeks, the tension escalated. Every command, every glance, every deliberate touch pushed her to the edge of self-control. He never forced her physically, never crossed the line, but his proximity, the way he monitored her, was intimate in a way that left her dizzy. One evening, Ayla stayed late to finish a report. Jin-Ho's office light remained on, and when she passed, she saw him standing by the window, looking out at the city lights. He didn't turn immediately, but when he did, his dark eyes pinned her in place. "You're still here," he said softly. "I hoped you'd leave." "I have deadlines," she replied, heart hammering. "Or you're drawn to the view," he murmured, his gaze drifting to her lips for a heartbeat too long. "The city or me?" Ayla froze. Her fingers tightened around the folder. Heat pooled in her stomach. She opened her mouth, closed it, and finally whispered, "Both." He didn't smile, but something shifted in his expression, a glimmer of acknowledgement, a flicker of desire he usually kept buried. "Tomorrow, come earlier," he said, voice low, dangerous. "I want you prepared." The word, prepared, lingered, and Ayla's mind raced with possibilities she shouldn't be entertaining. By Friday, the pattern was unmistakable. Every day brought closer proximity, stolen glances, subtle touches that left her reeling. He corrected her work with precision, but his fingers lingered too long over hers. He called her name deliberately, letting it roll over her like silk. Then, one afternoon, he summoned her to his office. The glass walls frosted automatically, sealing them in a private bubble of tension. "Sit," he commanded, gesturing to the chair across from him. Ayla obeyed, though her stomach fluttered. "I've observed you all week," he said slowly. "Every action, every hesitation, your brilliant and reckless, dangerous qualities." His dark eyes bored into hers. "Tell me, why do you keep working so hard for me?" Her throat went dry. "Because I want to," she admitted, the words trembling from her lips. "Because I like being near you." A long pause. Then, "Do you know the risk?" His voice was sharp, precise, but low, almost intimate. "Being near me means seeing my world, my rules, my darkness. It isn't safe for you." "I don't care," she whispered. A smile, a fleeting, rare twitch of the corner of his mouth, flickered. "Bold, dangerous, I like that." The tension broke only slightly when he returned to his desk, tapping his tablet with mechanical precision. But Ayla knew the game had changed. She was no longer just his employee. She was in his orbit, exposed to his control, his observation, his possession. And she had no intention of leaving. Batch 3. The city lights of Seoul shimmered through the penthouse windows like 1,000 tiny promises. Ayla sat on the edge of the black leather sofa, staring at her hands, still trembling from the tension that had been building all week. Jin-Ho's office, now her daily battleground and sanctuary, had become a place where every glance, every subtle touch left her heart racing. And tonight, the air felt heavier, electric, as if the city itself had leaned in to watch. "Stay," Jin-Ho said from the doorway, his presence filling the room even before she looked up. He wore a dark suit, the crisp white shirt beneath perfectly pressed, sleeves rolled just enough to hint at strength restrained. I can't stay," she stammered, though part of her burned to obey. You can, he said, stepping closer, the faint scent of his cologne wrapping around her. And you will, because I don't let go easily. Ayla's breath hitched. Every nerve in her body screamed at her to step back, yet every instinct, every thought told her to lean in. She had wanted this, desired this, even in moments of fear and hesitation. He moved with predatory grace, closing the distance. His hand lifted to brush a strand of hair from her face, fingers lingering along her cheek. Tell me, he murmured, voice low and intimate. What do you want, Ayla? I want you, she whispered, voice trembling, raw with honesty. I've wanted you for so long, Jin-Ho. Every day, every night I've wanted you. His dark eyes softened for the briefest second, then hardened again, dangerous yet magnetic. Then you'll have me, fully. But know this, once we step beyond this, there's no retreat. You will see everything I am, darkness and all, and you will stay. I'll stay, she said firmly, though her heart raced with fear and anticipation. He closed the final distance, cupping her face, lips grazing hers before pressing fully against hers. The kiss was slow, deliberate, claiming, and yet tender in its intensity. Every year of longing, every suppressed desire poured into that moment. Ayla's hands found his chest, gripping the fabric as if holding herself together while simultaneously letting herself fall. The kiss broke only briefly for breath. Ayla, he murmured against her lips, I've wanted you as much as you've wanted me, every second. I know, she breathed, and I've never wanted anyone like this before. He chuckled softly, dark and amused. Good, because you're mine now. Every look, every step, every heartbeat, yours belongs to me. Over the following months, life shifted in ways Ayla had never imagined. Her role at his company solidified. She was no longer just an assistant, but his confidant, partner in work and subtle intrigues. The tension never fully dissipated. Jin-Ho's control was absolute, his presence a constant, unyielding force. But it became something she craved, something that excited and grounded her all at once. They shared quiet mornings overlooking the Han River, late nights reviewing files with fingers brushing deliberately, and moments stolen in hallways or stairwells that left her trembling with anticipation. The world outside remained oblivious, unaware of the quiet storm of obsession, desire, and affection swirling between them. Then, one morning, everything changed. Ayla had felt the signs for weeks, the nausea, the fatigue, the way her body seemed different, but she had dismissed it as exhaustion. Now, in the privacy of their penthouse bathroom, a small stick revealed the truth. 2 lines, positive. Her hands trembled, and her heart raced with a mix of fear, disbelief, and an overwhelming joy she hadn't anticipated. She had imagined this moment, yes, but seeing the proof made it utterly real. Jin-Ho, she called softly, voice barely audible, shaking as she held the test. He appeared immediately, dark eyes widening slightly as they fell upon the object in her hands. Ayla. I think, she whispered, we're expecting. A long pause. He went completely still, as if processing the reality, the weight of it, and then he crossed the room in 3 strides, kneeling before her and pressing his forehead to her stomach. A child, he murmured, reverence in his voice. Our child. Tears welled in her eyes as she looked down at him, seeing a side of Jin-Ho rarely revealed. Awe, vulnerability, and an all-consuming love. Are you happy? She asked softly, her fingers brushing his hair. Happy, he looked up at her, eyes glimmering with emotion. Ayla, I'm terrified, overwhelmed, and yet I've never been more alive, more complete. This is everything I never knew I wanted until it was here. Her tears spilled freely, mixing relief, joy, and a love that had been years in the making. I love you, she whispered. I love you, he said, standing and pulling her into a tight embrace. I've always loved you, even when you were afraid, even when you spilled everything, even when you were reckless, I've always wanted you. They spent the day in a quiet reverie, speaking softly, holding each other, sharing the kind of intimacy that words cannot capture, the kind that grows out of danger, trust, and shared desire. Weeks later, Ayla felt a profound shift inside her. The child growing within her wasn't just a symbol of their love, but a promise, a bond, a future neither had dared imagine. Jin-Ho was not just the man she loved. He was her protector, her partner, her anchor in a life that had once been chaotic and lonely. And in the penthouse, as Seoul glittered beneath them like an endless river of possibility, they began to imagine the family they would create. A life built on intensity, on desire, on love that could survive darkness and danger alike. "Do you ever think about that night?" she asked one evening, head resting against his chest. He smiled, a small, rare smile that made her pulse quicken. "The night you walked in drunk and claimed me." She laughed softly. "I ruined everything, or I thought I did." "You made a choice," he said, voice low and possessive. "A choice to be brave, to be honest, to be mine. That's never something to regret." She pressed herself closer to him, feeling the steady beat of his heart beneath her cheek. "And I'll keep choosing you," she whispered. "Always." "Always," he echoed, capturing her lips in a gentle, possessive kiss. In that moment, the chaos of their beginnings, the heartbreak, the drunken confessions, the dangerous undertones, faded into memory. What remained was a love tempered by fire, by desire, by risk, and by the kind of trust that could endure anything. And now, with the child they had created, Ayla understood something profound. Some mistakes, some risks, some confessions were meant to lead you to exactly where you were supposed to be. She was exactly where she belonged. With him. And soon, with the life they were creating together. We've come to the end of our interesting African-Korean story, besties. It's my second video so far. Any further suggestions will be welcomed, and anything to make your viewing experience better. Please don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. Your support means a great deal to me.